Hey, what's up everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you another video. All right, man, I got heavy stuff today, getting some good exercise in, and feeling pretty good, man. I just, looking for inspiration on my Instagram for which to talk about, and it's more of the same going on, man. I think I made a 50-minute video breaking down my thoughts for today's tone. Because there's always a different tone that I'm providing in the conversation, but it's still the same conversation. You guys have heard it a million times. I've said it a million times, and at this point, I'm just trying to leave enough evidence of that conversation on my channel so that people know not only where I stood, but how vehemently I stood in life. But, I get it if those who are sick of that conversation are sick of it. Even if you're on our side, as many times as I've had this conversation, I'm pretty sure people are sick of it. So I like I said, it's intentional, man. It really is. I'm not an entertainer. I'm advocating for the lives of people who are being murdered, man. Like literally, and then furthermore for the restoration of independence to my country, which in and of itself sounds strange to say, but when you look up and see what's going on with our government and just how Jewish ultimately we are at this point, I would love to be free of that. I'd love to be free of that. I think our country would ultimately, those who are understanding of what's going on, would love to be free of that. And so that's why I speak the way I speak, man. I just, shout out to my good Jewish brothers and sisters. I addressed you guys earlier in my earlier video. I got love for people who are standing up right now. Maybe you didn't stand up always. I might have a problem with that, but that you're standing up now is not something that I would condemn at all, man. People need to stand up and stick their chests out and let the world know where they stand. And, if I were Jewish, I'd be doing this, man. I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now as a black person. I think it's the safest thing for y'all to do, man. Leave as much evidence as possible of your position on Zionism and what they are trying to do in this era of life. Because at the end of the day, man, they're really trying to stand behind y'all and essentially say, yo, we're going to be the big bad wolf. We are unapologetic. And holding us accountable is disrespectful to all the Jews. And we're going to proceed to do all that we want to do. And we're putting it all out on the line. And we control America. We control the West. We control everything else. And dare you even mention that is different, disrespectful. Like they're basically making it very easy to hate you guys, man. Like, and they're doing it on purpose. They understand this. They don't care anything about you guys. They hate you guys a lot because if you're not standing with them for their cause, then essentially you are like self-hating person. You know what I mean? And from there they hate you. So it's set up so perfectly to where either you're with them or they hate you enough to kill you. And so as they stand in front of all the Jewish people and say, this is what we're doing, that's the only position they leave you. Either you join us or we're very happy with using you as a human shield because you're not with us, and that makes you self-hating Jew, I guess. So everything that they have is wrapped up psychologically tight to where if you're not strong of the mind, you will probably join them, or you will probably just let them be, or not really stand in front of them for the sake of the peer pressure, so to speak, and the overall shunning that they'll do to you if we're not. It takes a strong person to stand up for what's right, especially if they benefit from not. But it's time to understand where the tides are turning, and we're in the brink of understanding. That's really what it is, mass understanding, and with information being able to be passed back and forth much quicker than it ever has been before. It would be ever so wise for everybody who doesn't align with that stuff, who happens to be Jewish, to do the best they can to leave as much evidence of their intentions away from that as possible. It could be the difference between unprecedented nonsense coming your way in the future. Because what people got to understand is, now that we're coming to understand a lot of what's going on here, a lot of what has been done in Jewish people's names by people who claim to be Jewish. It's been a lot of damage to a lot of different types of communities, a lot of damage to a lot of different countries, a lot of bad intention toward everybody who's not Jewish, essentially, and toward a lot of people who are Jewish, obviously. So when people come for a reckoning, all of the vitriol for all of the troubles are going to be pointed at you. This is a lot more dangerous than I think people are actually making it sound. I'm trying to paint a picture to help people understand how dangerous this really is. If I have every reason to blame you for all of my problems, and so does everybody else, the type of hate and the type of disrespect and the type of just overall creative nonsense in a negative light that could be pointed at the people who they are blaming could be unprecedented. It could be unprecedented stuff, and they're doing such horrible things to the people of Gaza, such degrading things to the people of Gaza, till they've essentially laid out the framework or laid out a blueprint of what it is that people will ultimately want to do to them in reverse, to get back at them for what has been done, to effectively neutralize what we would consider to be a racial monster, so to speak. You've shown us what you do to people that you label that way, but you've also shown us what would likely be effective in stopping you. And that's where it becomes extremely dangerous for non-Zionist Jewish people, because it's not going to be people wondering, well, are you Jewish, are you Zionist? They're going to be the people who are evil and dangerous enough to lash out that way are likely not going to be smart enough to ask those type of questions or decent enough to care. And this is why it's so important that not only do we make a strong distinction between Jewish and Zionism, but also encourage our Jewish brothers to distance themselves from Zionism in a very loud way. And a lot of you are already doing that, but you got to understand why. It's not only out of the decency of your heart. It's out of the safety and preservation of integrity and preservation of human life in the future, in my opinion. And I say this with a lot of concern, because I know there are good people who usually get hit by stuff like this. It's not bad people that end up getting the worst done to them. It's usually the good people that end up taking the brunt of what the evil people did, or what the worst people did. It's usually the people who didn't mean no harm that end up taking on the worst of the trauma. And that is something that I ultimately see coming and want to step in front of right away. It's important. This is important as a conversation as any conversation as we have on this channel. A lot of the martyrs, they were not preventable deaths. There was nothing people could do to prevent those deaths. We would have to give our lives and go over there and be on suicide, crash out missions, try to save people, and it probably wouldn't be successful. A civilian like myself ain't trained enough to do nothing like that, don't have the resources. I would just be out there trying to get myself killed to save lives, which is honorable, but it would be the end of the only life I have. Whatever I would otherwise be able to do with my voice doesn't get done. I don't think that's where the resistance would need me the most. Out there taking up space and firing at whatever, shooting in me, not knowing, not as a civilian being an idiot out there, just like any civilian would be in warfare, not knowing what we're doing. Probably more of a problem than we would be a solution. And so this is where we can do our most good. Using our voices, try to stand up for what's right, and allow for people who are out there doing the fighting to have support, verbal, spiritual, prayerful support. And that's what I can do, man. That's what I can be most useful in this fight. And so with all of that being said, I circle back to what my initial point should have been, which is we can prevent some of the deaths that are going to be coming Maybe we weren't able to save some of the martyrs, but we can definitely be preventative in saving some of the people that are going to die because of what took place here. And that's what I'm here to say. At the end of the day, I don't hate anybody. I don't like what people have done in certain cases. I don't particularly understand everybody's culture or whatever. But hate is only going to deteriorate my character and my spirit. And I don't have hatred. Even people I feel would be worthy to hate, I challenge myself to point them more productive energy rather than hate energy, because hatred doesn't do nothing but arm the enemy. And the enemy got plenty of arms against us. I don't want to see Jewish people, good Jewish people, children of whatever side they're on, suffer harsh fates in the name of this Zionist entity. As much as they discard children in so many different ways, this is just yet another way that they kill kids. By putting on a Jewish hat and then proceeding to make themselves as easy to hate as humanly possible. That later on down the road will have it so that kids will become martyrs one way or another in the ultimate fight, or whatever would be to come from them doing this in the Jewish faith name. We talk about the various different ways they destroy kids in Gaza. We talk about all this Epstein stuff, how they weaponize PDF files in so many different ways, enabling them to continue doing what they do so long as they continue to do their bidding, blackmailing people that probably should be thrown in prison for their crimes, instead are allowed to continue being PDF files so long as they do what Israel says. I mean, a lot of different ways that the Zionist entity leaves children unsafe. This is just one of many. I don't know if there's a worldly explanation for why they so easily find a way to be most harmful to our most innocent. The spiritual explanation, of course, is this is satanic. and Satan is all about the destruction of all living good things, especially innocent things. Anything that otherwise serve God in any way, it wants to destroy, humiliate, or convert into being a weapon against goodness. That's the spiritual explanation for why they find a way to harm kids. But they do find a way to ultimately harm children more than anybody else. More than anybody else. More grown people are able to survive the intentions of the hatred of the Zionists than children are. And that is ultimately what we're learning here. And so I see the future being very bleak for Zionist people because of this energy. And ultimately, like everything that the enemy does, it's the children that have to take the brunt of it. When people bomb this or destroy that or run these people off the road or that is shot at or whatever the heck is going to happen, it's usually the kids that ultimately get the worst of it if the Zionist has anything to say about it or if they had anything to do with it. This is why I don't find myself letting up on them. In every conversation I have, I think I'm ramping it up even more lately than I was in the past. I want to talk about them even more. And so it's only because I want to see kids safe. And I want to see kids not fed poison that makes them horrible toward others, or makes them a threat toward living beings out here, regardless if they are this or that or this important or that important or whatever the word you don't want to use. I firmly believe that all children should be exempt from grown people fights, grown people wars, grown people business, and grown people urges. You understand what I'm saying? Kids should be free to not have to deal with none of that. Hold on, man. Right, all right. they should be free to not have to deal with any of that. That's my honest opinion. And we see too much going on just in the last 2 years. Not to speak on all the children that they've done things to in Gaza over the last 75 years. The awful things that they're capable of. I was thinking about something else that I saw yesterday. My mind just skips off to something else. And I hinted at the idea that I believe that this could be possible. I don't recall seeing any content that spoke to this possibility, but I've seen so much content over the last 2.5 years in regards to Zionist Jews, to who knows how much of what it is that came to mind was independent or something that I may have seen one way or another. But I saw some content yesterday that was speaking to the notion that they could potentially be feeding people in the food that we eat in the companies, from the companies that we often buy food from. And I talked about my concern with them putting stuff in our food and putting horrible things in our food, potentially, about 2 weeks ago. You know, just in general, wondering, since we know what these people are capable of, since we know how evil they are, why would it not stand to reason that their depravity would then seep into this area of life? And the answer is, well, content that was released yesterday on whatever random Instagram that I saw spoke to them potentially literally putting human flesh in the food that we eat. McDonald's, I got a Pollo Loco in front of me. If these people own those companies, according to this content that I watched, they could potentially be putting human flesh in your food. And do I think that they're capable of that? Yes, unfortunately, based on all of the evidence that I've seen of their behavior, I absolutely think they're capable of that. I think they're capable of putting anything in anything in regards to your food. I didn't quite have that particular thing in mind. I was thinking more so poison, feces, urine, excrement of different kinds of stuff like that. But human flesh, I didn't quite have in mind. But when you talk about these people and what they really have shown us and what they're capable of, what they've just shown us over the last 2 years, it's a fool that would think they wouldn't fall to that type of depravity based on everything that we've learned about them. And so this is why I tell people, just if you have a relationship with God, pray over your food, man. If you can, stay away from some of these fast food joints. Anything that the Zionists own, stay away from it. Because when you learn what it is that I've learned over the last 2 years, you know for certain these people would do really, really awful things just for the sake of whatever it is they believe in. To whatever it is whatever degree they do. And if they think of you as lesser than them, which they definitely do, then they believe that you are essentially human cattle. And because you're human cattle, they can treat you however way whatever their creativity comes to their mind. They'll lie to you, they'll cheat you, they'll do weird stuff to you, all different types of things that we've learned. And because we understand these people control our government now, and because we understand that they control so much of what it is that we consume, it is inherently responsible for all of us to consider the levels of depravity that are possible in regards to creativity and viciousness of this entity. Do not think for a second they are shamed by anything at all. They are not. There's no level they will go, they won't go. There's nothing, no respect that they're looking for from you if they believe that you're beneath them. They don't value really anything you do for them unless you've devoted yourself to being their slave. Otherwise, you are to be treated as cattle or less than. They don't hold any integrity, any honor to your word. They feel it be beneath them to treat you fairly. This is what I've learned. I don't take too much pleasure in even saying stuff like that. I would like to think people like this don't actually exist, but they do. They have an undying thirst for many things that are no good. And one of them is treating the goy horribly. Undying thirst for that. And I tell you, man, now that we're in a space where we understand these people control so much of what we have access to, it's definitely responsible for us to look at them and say, yeah, man, they may be willing to do some weird, awful things to us just for shits and giggles. Just to serve the Satan that they serve. And I do believe that there's evidence out there that has given us a notion that they are hive-minded. That doesn't mean that they don't have people within their community that don't agree with their behavior, because we've seen proof. People in Israel that refuse to fight for the IDF. People who are Jewish who stand out, who were raised in Zionist households, who stand out and say, no, we don't roll with this, we don't like this. What we've learned has helped us understand that we don't align with this. There are people within their factions that do not align with their thinking. But for the most part, this is religiously structured and psychologically guilt-tripped on the entire Zionist people. They guilt-trip themselves and one another into believing a lot of the same stuff, pointing it the same way, intentional, aligned by structure to the goy, in hopes that they can control us and ultimately get our full, unwavering compliance. This is what they're doing. Unwavering compliance is what they're after from the goy. And this generation of goy, they just need us to be quiet and let them do their genocide, pledge allegiance to them as they take over our government, purchase all of what it is that they're selling us to keep them wealthy, and support them in all of it. That's what they demand of us. Tomorrow's goy, I'm not sure what they're going to want from tomorrow's goy. Oh, and they definitely want us to fight in their wars, die for them. They reserve the right to commit terrorist attacks on our innocent people for the sake of their narratives. Yes, they want you to die for them for certain. But tomorrow's goy, I don't know what they're going to need from our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids. I'm not really sure that their demands won't be significantly more harsh toward tomorrow's goy. That their treatment of us won't be significantly more despicable. That their brazen behavior and hatred toward us and disrespect toward us won't be more so in the future. Because when you allow somebody to have this type of power that this generation is allowing them to have, the brazen attitude that it births from that compliance becomes significantly more bold and outlandish. Not the first time I've said that, not the first time that's come to mind. But it is necessary to say that. You keep letting these people think they can get away with genocide and taking over your country, and tomorrow they're going to want a lot more from you than they asked of you today. And given the fact they have a taste and a thirst for children and all these different energies in regards to kids, that's where my imagination goes when I consider what they're going to demand of us tomorrow for letting them get away with this today. And this is why it's not harmless that we just let them take over our government, that we just stay in compliance to their behavior. Because at the end of the day, these people, they mean children no good. Much harm they do to kids out here. Much harm. Sexual deviancy pointed at children, rampant within their factions. Rampant. They even have it in their books that it's okay to touch children of a certain age. the younger the better type energy. You do not stay silent when this particular entity with these particular ideals decide that they want to take over the world in front of you. You stand up, you speak loud, and you let them label you whatever the hell they're gonna label you, and you face the consequences, because you're doing it for not only the people in your world today, but for generations ahead. Long after you're dead, what it is that you allowed through your compliance will only become more difficult for the children of tomorrow, for your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. And this is why I speak the way that I do, because I understand what these monsters are potentially capable of if they continue to go unchecked. With the uniqueness of my way of looking at the world, I have a very strong urgency in me to believe what it is that I saw over the last 2 years and warn everybody as much and as loud as I possibly can of what it is that I think could be to come and what it is that's taking place right now, to the best of my knowledge. This is not just about your American government. They control many governments. It's not just about the Epstein files. They got many PDF files that they use in that same fashion all over the world to control governments all over the world. And they're essentially standing on the mountaintop right now because all of what it is they've tried to accomplish in taking over the world is essentially in a space where they feel confident they can step out front and say, we control it all. But what they cannot do is feel as if they can do this without some resistance, because they are in spiritual warfare and they do have ops that they have to deal with spiritually. They are not able to sit on the mountaintop and effectively say that they've won any damn thing, because people of God are still here. People who believe in the Holy Spirit, people who actually follow the Spirit and the energy and the teachings of Christ are still walking the earth today. They may have been able to take a few of them and round them up to be compliant out of fear and lack of faith, but there are still a good portion of us that are on the front lines telling the truth and raising awareness for what it is, the urgency necessary as well in our voices. And that's what it is that I'm trying to bring to the table, is urgency. And I'm thankful that I see so many people who have spoken out, who've raised awareness and provided that urgency for me to relay on to whoever's listening to me. And there are people online that have given me so much understanding, so much information, so many receipts. A lot of what it is that I thought was in place, they have seconded those ideas just by using their voice. Some of the stuff that I speculated about, finding out some merit to some of that speculation. But even if I saw no one speak, I would still believe it was in my best interest to do so. You know, this Erica Kirk situation is getting strange too. Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk. Turns out that Erica Kirk's family, a good portion of them are Jewish or Zionist. I don't know how that works. And then she was quoted saying, she was talking about how she feels that Charlie Kirk's humanity and what he stood for stands out more now that he's been assassinated. But she worded it in such a way to say, once he was assassinated, then I became aware of such and such and such and such, however it went. Using the word once implies that something was planned. And there was someone online that was pointing that out. I thought that was very interesting. And there was some interesting stuff that came Candace's way. Someone got on her platform and essentially said that they saw not only Erica Kirk, but her Zionist ex-boyfriend, of whom was not supposed to even have existed, since she said she didn't date nobody before she met Charlie, which is just not something anyone's going to believe anyway. But now she got this boyfriend. He's going around speaking on campuses, ex-boyfriend rather, speaking on campuses, trying to be more like Charlie. I guess he had her first or whatever. I don't know, man. It's weird energy surrounding Erica Kirk right now. And it's just one more road leads back to Israel. One more assassination that I ultimately believe they had everything to do with. And I speculate they killed a lot of people, not that we know of, who were assassinated. Not just Charlie, but many other political and social assassinations as well. Celebrities, I'm starting to think they killed some of the people or set up the environment for which they were killed. Certain things you wonder if this could have been manipulated. That could have been manipulated. You listen to stories of people who were knocked off. It's like, oh damn. I know every part of this story seems on the up and up, but there's that one part that set the whole thing up that could have been controlled by an outside source. Did they make that happen so that this could have taken place? It's a lot of stuff like that you have to wonder about these days. Did they kill that person? Did they kill that person? Did they kill that person? I don't know. I think the answer is probably yes on most of them, to be honest with you. I think the answer is yes. A good portion of those. But when it comes to this Charlie Kirk guy, I think all of the interest that's pointed at that particular killing, it's starting to be pretty damn obvious it leads back to Israel. He was about to turn on them. He was once the top Israel supporter in America. Had a massive voice, a very not manipulative, but a convincing way of communicating, I guess is the way. And near the end, he had started saying, yo, I'm sick of these people. I don't want to take none of their money. I'm about ready to deviate from what they had going on. And then he was conveniently knocked off. And then all of a sudden, just like they always do when they knock somebody off, suddenly he's their best friend after death. If they didn't hate him and they felt necessary to kill him, then they usually do some type of honoring of that person, name a day after him or something like that. They liked the guy, but they had to knock him off because he was getting too close to the truth or something like that. But if they hated a guy and they kill him, then they continue to disgrace their name and likeness. If they happen to be in Gaza, that's taken to a different level where they bulldoze over their bodies, dig them up, bury them again, bulldoze, that type of thing. The Zionists, they move by a certain playbook. And as I said, I believe they're hive-minded. So on every level, they do the same things. Different degrees of it from the different positions that they stand in, but it's still the same ideology and the same way of treatment toward their enemies, toward their friends. They move a certain way. And so when you start looking at this behavior, as I mentioned 1,000 times, you start to understand where you see it paired in different places on different levels. And so, yeah, this Charlie Kirk guy, they liked him. They really did. But he started turning on them. He threatened to expose what they most war with, the truth about them. And I believe they knocked him off. I believe they knocked him off and then proceeded to try to use who they had in place to continue on the path of what their intentions were with his company, which is to normalize Israel and ultimately bring about a Judeo-Christian united front to ultimately weaponize itself against the Muslim faith and start a holy war somewhere down the road. That's really what it's about. That's what I believe Turning Point is all about. It's about the meshing of Judaism and Christianity for the sake of war against Muslims and Arabic people as a whole. That's really all its purpose is. They don't really have no other purpose. So normalize Judaism amongst us Christians. And I was thinking about something else this morning. I was getting out of the shower, drying off, starting my day. And I said, these people have been killing kids. They've been knocking off different people, taking over governments, blackmailing people by way of PDF files, being in place, blackmailed in places of power. All these different things that people have been doing, controlling the government, controlling the stock market, controlling the housing market, feeding us poison like OnlyFans, controlling so much of what we see in sports, fast food joints, literally everything that has a dollar sign on it, they control it. Banking systems, credit systems, all of it, they control it all. They put themselves in positions to control the world. But let us not forget what they did first, before all of it. They killed our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm pretty damn certain they know they did this. For those who have this history passed down many years, and just like anybody else they hate that they kill, they continue to disgrace their name after death. So they say he's boiling in hot excrement, in hell, and constantly continue to try to weaponize his people against the spirit of goodness. You know what I mean? Anything done in his name, they X out his name from his holiday, slap their holiday right there in the middle of the holiday, or however that goes. Just a bunch of disgrace toward that from whom they killed, of whom they hated, whom they loathed. If they had to kill who they loathed, they want to continue to spit on their grave and desecrate their remains and destroy any remnants of integrity to their legacy. They do the same thing with Michael Jackson. They hated Michael Jackson. So 10 years later, they still bringing up all these lies that they smeared upon this man, calling him a PDF file, putting him in the Epstein files or whatever with fake pictures that ain't even from those circumstances. And we know they killed Mike because of how the behavior goes. It's the behavior that is simply detectable, because no matter what, if it's them doing something, the behavior is going to come from what it is that they ultimately teach one another. Whether they're doing it to a Palestinian person in 2025, whether they did it to Michael Jackson in the early 2000s, whether they did it to Jesus Christ back in the early biblical days, obviously. If they hate somebody and they kill them, they most definitely going to disrespect their legacy and desecrate their remains if possible. If they love them, they're going to kill them and then proceed to make a day after them, say that they were best friends, say that that person was ultimately devoted and loyal to them, say that that person was really a good friend to them, and they absolutely did not kill him. It's behavior. You're going to see it all over the place. This is the same stuff. It's like I believe, without having read their books, I think the stuff is written in their books. I think these people are following their religious practices to a T. Each and every one of them. The same psychological behaviors, psychological warfare and tactics, in the same way that they utilize sexual depravity in their tongue when they speak about who it is they hate. It's always they hope you get R-worded or some type of agreeance to allow for such behavior to take place toward you, particularly Palestinian people in prisons. They co-sign it. I mean, this is parallel behavior amongst all of them. Even if you meet somebody on the street and you disrespect them, the first thing gonna come out of their mind is say, I hope you get R-word or something like this. I think this stuff is written in their books. I really do. I really think this stuff is written in their books, and I think they follow it to an absolute T. Hive-minded as they are. Devoted to their religious intentions. And these religious intentions are despicable. So if you believe that the stuff about kids is written in them books, and then you look and you see how devoted they are to the practices of these religious intentions, then you understand 2 and 2 is going to equal 4 there as well. And this is what I said. When you stand out front, put your chest out, and show the world who you are, you better understand that there are going to be some brains out there, some people out there who are going to see you through a very special lens. Whatever you have in your head, the world actually is. When you stand out front and show yourself to the world, people that you don't understand, who you can't fathom their purpose, are going to be looking at you, studying you, and ultimately reporting what they see or whatever it is their functionality would be. They don't know who all's out here. They're arrogant in their actions but lacking wisdom. So while they sitting out here pretending like they're dancing on the mountaintop, they're exposing their strategies, they're exposing their ideologies, they're exposing their DNA, their imprint, spiritual imprint, physical imprint, tactics. They're showing all of that stuff to us. They're showing everybody. While they don't have respect for the Goy, it doesn't mean the Goy ain't to be respected. That's their mistake. That ain't a reflection of the reality that's out here. Just because they think they chosen, everybody else is frozen in some type of stupor mindset. That's their perception of the world around them. That's not the reality of the world around them. They're showing all of us, every dang body, who they are. And giving us every single reason to be at war with them. And so, I just pray and keep pushing forward, using the gifts that God gave me and the time that I have alive to show all of you what it is that I've detected and what it is I've suspected all along. Back when I was calling people the people behind the curtain, all the way up into where we are right now. Nothing's particularly shocking, unfortunately, to me, because they've always shown me who they were, one way or another. I was able to pick up on the evil early in my life. Just didn't quite know what I was looking at, but could sense all of it. And so now I go forward and just live out my life doing exactly what I'm doing right now, or whatever, to whatever degree the Lord will allow me to do it, man. And when I'm done here, I will answer for all of my sins, but I'll also present to the Lord what my intentions was, and that was to be of service to Him in this warfare against the people, the chosen people of Satan, while simultaneously trying my best to inspire people to be better than them, to be better than me too, make good decisions, to be aligned in truth, to welcome accountability, to welcome betterment of others, to be a friend to others and share, to just be everything that they refuse to be. Bdf 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.